All right, well, starting day one of the vlog. Not really sure what finally got me to decide to get into this, but it's been a long time coming. Definitely thought about doing it for a couple of years now. Just never had the aspiration to get it done, or the motivation, I guess, more importantly. But with the recent success of a couple of guys on Instagram who've moved it to YouTube, decided to give it a shot. I guess we'll see how it goes. I figure, considering that I play PLO regularly, it'll be a little bit different. Also, since it's not in a major poker destination like Los Angeles or Las Vegas. So I'm here in San Francisco. I'm actually driving right now to Lucky Chance's Casino, which is in Colma. It's near the San Francisco airport. It's about maybe a 20 to 30 minute drive from San Francisco, depending on traffic. So yeah, this is the beginning. Guess we'll see how it goes. All right, logging out. Bye. Alright, so we are here. Hopefully we can get a game started soon. My guess is it might take a little bit. It's never too quick around here, but I guess we'll see. Alright, see you soon. So pretty much as soon as I walk into the casino, we're able to start a 5-handed 5-5-10 pot limit Omaha game. It's been running for about 6 months regularly now. It started 1 day a week, but it's running now multiple days, generally around 3 to 5 days a week, depending on the players. Buy-in is min 500 and no max. There'll be a few people that will buy in for the minimum, but generally you'll find guys buying in for around 1,500, 2,000. A couple of guys buying in for 3,000, 4,000. And then the stacks can get deeper as the night goes on and people are reloading. So the game actually plays fairly large. So I'm on the button with 6, 7, 10, 10 with the 6, 7 of hearts. I open to pot 40 to isolate the straddler, play a pot in position. The flop comes pretty good. It comes 6, 8, 9. I flop the nuts. He checks. I bet 60 into about 85. And unfortunately, he folds. We take it down. The next hand, I get Queen, Queen, 8, 8. I open pot to 40 with the Queen, 8 of hearts. I think we might go 3-way to the flop. The flop comes 5, 5, deuce. They both check. I put in a C bet of 80. The first guy folds. The second guy, who is aggressive, probably the best player in the game, calls me. The turn is pretty sweet. It is an 8. At this point, he checks again, and I bet now turning 8's full, and he folds. So once again, pretty unfortunate that we didn't get a call. So I get ace 7, 7, 10 with the ace 7 of spades. I open to 40, get 2 callers. The flop comes pretty favorable. It comes 7, 7x. I don't remember anymore. I flop quads, and everybody checks. I bet the turn, and everybody folds, and I actually get a $100 high hand bonus. So you may have noticed this little orange dude. What he is it's a daruma, which is traditionally a handmade Japanese wishing doll. They're usually made of paper mache, and the idea behind them is they're supposed to keep you focused on achieving a goal. You fill in one of their eyes when you are making a goal, and you kind of look at it, and it's supposed to remind you of working towards your goals. You'll find them oftentimes in traditional Japanese shops or restaurants. They're for good luck. So you fill in the one eye, and once you actually achieve your goal, then you fill in the other eye. So hopefully he'll bring me some good luck. I'd like to thank my friend Kendall, and hopefully I can keep my eyes on the prize and achieve the goals that I've set. So here I am in the straddle with Jack 8-9, folds to the button, who opens. One of the blinds calls, I call as well. Seems pretty standard in my opinion. The flop comes Ace Queen 10 rainbow. Small blind checks. I decide to lead with the blockers to the nuts. The button folds, and now the small blind, who is a pretty tight regular, calls. At this point I put him on most likely a set or a two pair. The turn is the 8, so I actually make the queen high straight. He checks. I decide to check back for pot control. Figure most likely I have the best hand. River, unfortunately, is an ace, and now he leads for 2/3 pot. I decided to try to talk to him. He has a bunch of tells. He usually lets people know if he's got a big hand. He kind of doesn't respond, so I actually put him on a bluff. I decide to call, and unfortunately, he has ace queen for the nuts, and we lose. So I'm in the small blind with King Queen 10-3 double suited. The couple players that had limped were the weaker ones at the table. I decide to pot out of the small blind to 60 for value, kind of take control of the hand. We end up going three-way to the flop, which comes queen high with two clubs. So I flop top pair and a 10 high flush draw. I bet 120 into 180. I get one caller. I turn a flush. I decide to check it to induce. You can spaz out sometimes. Also, I don't think I can really get three streets of value here. The river is a brick. Actually, he checks back the turn. The river is a brick, and I check again. He checks back, and I think this is a pretty big mistake. I mentioned later on that I'm just not betting my hands for value often enough. I think once he checks the turn, I can safely bet the river with the 10 high flush. So I really need to work on doing that. here I am in the straddle with Ace King 9-3. One of the action players opens to 30. He gets 3 callers. I elect to call out of the straddle. I think my hand plays well multi-way. The flop comes Ace Deuce 5 Rainbow, so I flop top pair, top kicker, a gut shot straight draw, as well as a backdoor flush draw. I decide to bet 80 into 150. To protect my hand, I think oftentimes top pair, top kicker is going to be the best hand here, and I have a blocker to the straight. The pre-flop raiser calls, everybody else folds. The turn's an offsuit 7, which doesn't change the board as far as affecting the straight. I decide to keep up with the story and bet 280 into 310. He thinks for a bit and calls. I think his most likely hand here is a set of deuces or a set of fives, possibly 2 pair. The river is a king, and despite having now river 2 pair, I think he still has me beat, and I decided to turn my hand into a bluff and bet 660. Unfortunately, he finds a call with the ace 7-7-3, so he actually got lucky and turned a set of sevens. So I was right; he did have a set, but wasn't able to find a fold. So it's been about half a day since I started this video. Unfortunately, the my phone ran out of batteries while I was recording, so I wasn't able to complete the whole session. Turns out I actually played for I think about 10 hours, so I don't think I would have been able to record the whole thing anyway. I think I got some decent amount of hands in there on footage, but the biggest pots that I did play are not on there, so I'm going to try to kind of talk them through just to kind of give an idea of how the game plays, and I guess how big it can play. So the first one, I think I had bought in for about 1,700, up a little bit at this point. Maybe I have around 2,200, 2,300 to start the hand. There's a couple of limpers. I limp late position with ace, queen, jack, X, no suits. The straddler, he raises to 40, which is pretty unusual given the amount of limpers and his being out of position. So everybody calls, I call as well. We go 5-way to the flop. The straddler is the same guy from earlier that I tried to bluff when I had the ace king 3 and he turned the set of sevens. So he's definitely an action player. He's stuck at this point, so I think he's trying to chase his losses. The flop comes 10-9-8 with 2 spades. So I flop the straight. No redraws, I have 1 spade in my hand. The small blind checks, he bets pot 205. The 2 guys after him fold, and at this point he's got maybe 1,000 to start the hand. So I was thinking about flat calling him just to break the turn and then get the money in on there, as well as possibly letting in the one guy behind me, let him make a mistake. But given the size of the pot and the ability to be able to raise in this situation and get him almost all in, I like to do that. I raise the pot, the guy behind me folds, and now the straddler gets it all in for about 1,000. I call, and he says he has a set. The turn is the 10, so at this point I know I'm dead, and he rolls over 10-10-9-4 for just turning quads. It's pretty frustrated at this point, given that earlier he had heroed me down when he sucked out by turning a set, the 2-outer, and now he gets it in bad and stacks and doubles through me again. So I reload for about 2,000 total. I'm stuck 1,000 at this point. A bit frustrated. After that, I get pretty card dead. I don't think I played many hands for maybe a few hours. A lot of maybe just raising in position, whiffing flops, having fold, or calling raises and missing. So I'm in for about 3,000. Stuck, I think, around like 2,300. I have 700. I decided not to reload. I wanted to see if I can get an easy double up. I feel like in the game, the deeper you play, the harder it is to get a double up from some of the guys because they play a little tighter, whereas if I have a shorter stack, they'll be more likely to get it in light. So I raise, I think I lived queen, I don't even remember what the other 2 cards were. It was queen, XX in late position after a couple limpers. We go 5-way to the flop, it becomes queen 7 deuce rainbow. The small blind checks. The straddler, who's an action player, leads for pot. I just call since there really aren't any turns I'm afraid of. It's queen 7 deuce rainbow. Now the small blind check raises, pots 250. The original better on the flop folds, and I just call again, leaving myself about 450, figuring he's gonna chip it in on the turn and I'll get it in. I don't want to shove here and get him to fold if he has some 2-pair, because he'll likely know that I have to have a set. The turn is a king of diamonds, so now there's 2 diamonds, and he decides to check, which I think is pretty strange. I figure he's got to have at least 2-pair, given that it's queen 7 deuce rainbow. He could also just have some nonsense that he figures that we can't call a raise. But given that it's king, queen, 7 deuce, 2 diamonds, or a couple straight draws, flush draws, I don't want to give a free card, so I jammed for 450. He goes into the tank, so at this point I figure at best he's got 2-pair. I just don't think there's any way that he could ever fold a set, maybe a set of deuces. He eventually calls. The river is a 7 of diamonds, so the flush gets there, but I make a full house. He kind of starts shaking his head sheepishly, and my buddy's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, dude." And I'm like figuring like, okay, like how do I lose here? My friend thinks that he had made a flush, not realizing that I have a full house because I had already showed. And the guy rolls over pocket 7s for a set of 7s and rivering quads. So I get stacked there. I'm stuck 3,000. I think a 1,500 stack. We are 5-handed. It seems like the game is possibly going to break soon, so I know that there probably aren't too many hands to play. I get king 5 deuce with king 5 of diamonds. I raise to 30. The button calls, and my buddy in the straddle calls. We go 3-way to the flop, which comes 9-6-3, 2 diamonds. My buddy checks. I decide to check because the guy behind me tends to bet almost always when check 2. So I don't really want to scare anyone away. I feel like I have the best of it with the overpair of kings, the gut shot straight draw, as well as the second nut flush draw. He does bet 60, and now my buddy reaches for raising chips, which I'm not too fond of because he's a pretty solid player. I don't think he's really messing around. He grabs 260 and looks like he's about to raise, but then just calls. So I'm a bit weary of this. I don't think I can really raise in this spot now, so I just call. Turn is the beautiful offsuit king, so I turn the nuts. My buddy checks. I think about checking, but I think the guy behind me isn't likely to double barrel here, so I have to bet my hand, for myself. I don't want to give a free card away. I bet 220 into 270. The button folds, and now my buddy calls. The river is an offsuit queen, so Jack 10 gets there, which would be a gut shot unless he has something like Jack 10-8 or Jack 10-8-7 for a wrap or a wrap in a gutter. He makes kind of a strange motion and then checks. I get kind of a funny feeling about it. This happens to me often. I think I kind of, unfortunately, especially lately since I haven't been doing too well in the game, suffer from seeing monsters under the bed. I'm a bit worried. I don't really want to bet, but I think it's just too nitty to check top set here since the only hand I lose to is Jack 10. I think that since he wanted to raise the flop, it's quite likely that he could have flopped 2-pair, maybe a set. So I want to go for value. I don't think he's going to call me if I bet big, so I bet 100 into 700. He makes a funny face, thinks for a bit, and at this point I'm a little worried that he's coming in for the check raise. Part of me actually doesn't mind the check raise because it looks like I'm inducing it. I mean, really, he has to have maybe Jack 10 of diamonds, or like I said, some sort of wrap, straight draw, flush draw. He ends up check raising to 800, and I'm pretty sick at this point. It's pretty frustrating given how I've been running all night, getting one outered, and having the guy turn quads on me the other hand, so it's quads twice. I unfortunately can't find a fold because I think it's possible that he could be turning his hand into a bluff. I do call, and he has Jack 10 offsuit and the 8-4 of diamonds for flopping a gut shot and an 8-high flush draw and turning a double gutter. So it's pretty frustrating that his flush draw is dead, and it's his double gutter that's live, one of which isn't very live because I think if a 7 peels, I'm going to likely see that 4 or 5 gets there, and I'm not going to bet. So really the offsuit queen is the perfect card in the deck. So I call off there. Now I think I'm stuck almost 5k, something like that. We play a bit more. I double up, and the game breaks shortly after that. So I ended up leaving stuck 4,300. Not the way I wanted to start off this vlog, that's for sure. The games have been pretty good. I feel like I've been running pretty salty. This last month has been especially brutal. I had my worst day ever a couple of weeks ago. I took some time off for the holidays, and now this kind of stacked on top is pretty awful. But you know, this is kind of one of the reasons I wanted to start the vlog, to motivate myself. I feel like the games are really good, and unfortunately PLO is pretty swingy. Things like this are going to happen, so I just got to keep at it. So yeah, this is about probably running a little long. Hopefully I can edit it down to make it shorter. Hopefully the next video will be a little better. I'm going to try to take some better scenes at the table. I know there were some issues kind of seeing the hands and stuff like that. Maybe try to see the board as well, be a little more descriptive on hands. So this will be a work in progress. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully the next time we'll turn it around. Alright, thanks for tuning in. Peace.